Hey everybody, welcome back. Got a really good one for you today. This is from a large tournament I participated in just recently here. And when I say large, I'm going to give you a peek at the bracket. The tournament is called the Grand Prix. So this is a format hosted by the APA out here in Colorado where I play. And here's a look at the bracket. So tons and tons of players. Get through a few rounds and you're into the money. And the format is what they call a modified single elimination, which basically means you, within the first 2 rounds of the tournament, you can lose and get a second chance. But if you get past that second round, you no longer have a second chance. So the way they describe it is you're guaranteed to play twice, but not to lose twice. The way the bracket was seeded was pretty interesting to me, and I think I like it. All the sevens had to play each other, all the sixes had to play each other, all the fives, and so on and so forth down the line. So the sevens were up at the top of the bracket. I ended up being #1 on the bracket, which was kind of fun. I came out today to really just hammer my game, to really play hard, to play aggressive, to go on the offense whenever possible, play smart, obviously, right? Like you don't want to take unnecessary risks. And while I was warming up the morning of this tournament, I was just crushing it. I felt amazing. I was in stroke, just dead punch, couldn't miss a ball. A lot of like comments on the side, like you better not miss with this guy. So that like builds up your confidence too. It was feeling really good. And so really drilling down on the game. And coming in knowing that I'm going to be playing a bunch of sevens, you can't take that for granted, right? You have to really make sure you're playing smart. Don't give up any unnecessary chances. And I've worked on my stroke a little bit. I'm going to do a video on that of just what's been different with my stroke. But yeah, and recording these earlier matches, as a heads up, one of the games from this match is missing from a little later. No like spoilers as to the outcome here necessarily, but yeah, one of the later games is missing, unfortunately. What I attempted to do with this match, just as a side note on recording, is to record the entire match instead of pausing between games. I know that that's not right. I have learned my lesson. The camera that I use has a recording limit of 29 minutes, and I had previously learned this lesson, but somehow forgot the day of. So one of those is missing, unfortunately. But we open up with solids here, and there is a cluster down at the bottom of the table, as you can see. So we're going to need to see if we can either address that with a breakout. Doesn't look like there's a ton of good options for breakouts. Obviously, do the YouTube stuff. If you haven't done the YouTube stuff, glad you're here. The likes and subs and the comments help the channel grow and helps YouTube bring more of you awesome people to the channel. So definitely do that and share the video around. If you know somebody who likes to talk about the mental game in pool. Anyway, stop the YouTube stuff. This is a safe shot. So what I want to do is bury the cue ball down here. I'm not playing for a breakout. Just coming easy off the 2, bit of a drag draw shot, and I ended up burying him really well. I left him a look at the balls, and you could theoretically back cut the 15 here, but that'd be a pretty aggressive play and pretty unlikely to work out. So he's got to come into that 15. I think he's got a line on the 14 here over by the side, so you could certainly play into that. I think that's what I would be tempted to do here, would be to come off the right side of the 14 and send me back down table. I think he sized up the cut on the 15 there. It's dicey. But yeah, here he goes looking at the 14. That's a good play. Came a bit too thick into the 14 though. It worked out all right. The 5 is blocked. It doesn't go here. The 2 is blocked. I don't have a look at the 2. So just kind of looking at my options here. I don't have an edge on the 2 ball. It would have been really nice if I did, either to play it or to come off and play safe again off either side of the 2. Going rail first into the 2 is sort of risky. I guess you theoretically could do one of these to either play it. I think that might be what I was looking at there. Ultimately, what I look at is, because I've got the full ball on the 5, got access to the 5, and is it possible for me to get around the 13 and get buried again, like put him back under the 7, 3, 6. So this would be really ideal position to float down in there. That's what I look at. This is tough to judge. So especially on a table where I haven't warmed up on this table, I'm not really familiar with the speed yet. You just have to trust your angle coming off the object ball. The other thing is you have a pretty good chance of putting the 5 into the pack down here and complicating things for your opponent. So it played a good speed. I went full on into the 13 ball, so just misjudged the cut angle off the 5 a little bit. Incidentally, ended up making his 11 ball, which you want to avoid that, right? He's got a pretty open layout here. Takes the 13, picks that one off. You could play the 15 and punch up for the 10, or you can use the 10 high inside to float back over for the 15. Tough one. I think maybe didn't give that one enough time. You could see the spin on the cue ball. If you rewind that video, you can see the inside spin, which might have been part of why he missed that ball. And I'm blocked on the pack, so I don't have access to any of these. My only open option is to play the 2 ball. And it's a very makeable shot. Luckily, I have enough access to the cue ball down here by the 10. But you have to not only line up on the ball, but make sure that when you come back off of it, that you end up down table, perfect speed control, maybe even a little bit of spin to ease the cue ball back down there. So I reassessed because I got down on it and I didn't like how it felt. Got back up and reset. Good stroke to the outside of the pocket. Edges the cue ball back down, so cheat it just slightly. You could see how the 2 ball went in on the right side. Now I've got full access to the 7, and then I'll use the 3 to nudge up the 6. Nicely played. A little bit of draw to give myself more room on the 3 ball. You don't want to just punch up right on top of it. So good play there. Push the 6 a little bit too far. What I would have liked is for the cue ball to drift less and for the 6 to stay around here so that I did have the same cut off the 6, but I have to figure out a way to get down on the 5. And so what I'm looking at is here on the rail, there is a window between the 9 and the 14 to play the 5. So it's dicey, yeah. So anywhere down here should be fine to get a shot on the 5. And I know that if I come too thick into the 6 ball, that the 8 is along that line and could get in the way. You have to try to avoid that either by cheating the pocket or opening it up with more spin. So good speed there. Yeah, came into the 8. And I knew it. I was nodding my head. I knew it was in the way. Didn't really make the proper adjustment, so good speed, good spin. Played the 6 ball really well, but I think the cut was slightly off. Needed to cut the 6 differently into the pocket to change the angle. It's a bit of a misjudgment there, but nothing catastrophic. I mean, I hooked myself behind the 8, but what I start to look at is a 2 rail kick, and I have a system for these. So I'm going to think about coming into the backside of the 5 ball here. I need to hit it with enough pace so that something goes to a rail afterwards. Otherwise, you're going to give up ball in hand. So my system is I look at the line between the 5 and the cue ball, find the middle point of that line to the pocket, and then parallel shift over to the cue ball. If you haven't seen that kind of system before, that explanation might not make a ton of sense, but gives you a pretty reliable 2-rail hit. If you'd like to hear more about that specific system, I'd be happy to do a breakdown video. It is a very useful 2-rail kick system. For situations like that, I have really good consistent results. So I let my opponent back with an open table. This is dangerous territory, especially playing a 7 here early in the tournament. But he might be feeling the nerves. Didn't really line up on that 12. Didn't really pick his lines, just kind of got down, maybe took that ball for granted too. And he leaves me an open shot on the 5. The full pocket was available here, I seem to remember, bottom left corner for the 5. And all I have to do is judge how to get back down table below the 8. This is not available. You don't really want to try to play short side on the 8 over into this corner. So what I'm going to look to do is either draw into the rail to come down, which brings the side pocket into play, or float down this way, high ball rolling through the 5, which I do like. You're not bringing the side pocket into play. give it enough pace to get down. Still flirted with the side pocket, even to the point, basically. So I know that I didn't let my stroke out enough. Still learning the table speed a little bit here. And I've got a thin back cut on the 8. There's no scratch in play here, so you just make sure you've given it enough pace to get to the pocket. So I go look at the back of the ball again. Part of kind of my new pre-shot routine. Check the back of the ball, stand up, a couple practice strokes while standing, and then I get down. Nice and smooth through this ball, back cut. Good finish. So this feels good. This is just game number 1. Kind of a messy rack, right? We're not breaking and running necessarily, but I made good use of the balls that were open. Really just got bad shape on the 5. So good break here. I remember this day, the second ball break was working well for me. I was spreading things out well. I was pretty consistently making a ball. Cue ball control was good. It was coming off the side in the long rail back into the stack. In this case, did not make a ball, so my hit on the second ball must not have been as good. But yeah, as I said in the previous video, in my experience, and I've certainly heard this from other players as well, with a second ball break, if you make a ball, they're likely to spread out a little better. And if you don't, they're likely to stay somewhat more clustered. Not really sure what goes into that or how valid that is. It's played out in my experience. The physics behind it or what have you are pretty complicated, I'm sure, but I have found that to be true. So my opponent opens up, nudges the 15 over into the corner pocket here, but he's left with a pretty challenging combination shot, 2 to the 5, which if he makes, he'd have to float down for the 2. Good speed. I think the speed was well judged. Maybe the idea was to leave the 1 ball on the side or to get down below the 2 for the opposite corner. And at this point, I immediately size up the potential problems. So the 14 and the 12 being left in this cluster. You want to address those or see if there's an easy line to just play those. Combination is playable, but the problem with the combination is you'd end up, when making the 14, sending the 12 into the stack. 10's a good opening shot, sends you back out and up table. What I'm looking at is using the 10 as the opening shot with draw low outside to pull into the pack here and spread out the 14 and the 12. It's pretty likely to work out for me, high percentage, and I'll either end up with a shot on the 14, 12, or maybe even the 9 ball on the side. I was checking with him there because I nudged the, like, very slightly brushed the 8 ball, I think, that was by the side pocket. And he said just kind of to leave it where it was. So good play here. Spread things out. 14 and 12 are both playable. I got a good roll to get under the 12 to the point where combination's on, 12 to the 15. And then at that point, you can roll up for the 14 or the 9 or even the 12 if it stays in the pocket past the 15. So nice and easy speed here. You don't want to try to make both. Yeah, just send the 12 into the 15. That worked out fine. 9 plays inside. 14 looks pretty juicy in the corner pocket here. Pretty much straight on. So now you just look at the table again. You pick your open pattern. I know that if I go from the 14 to the 9, they're both basically stop shots. And the 9 to the 13 leaves me pretty straight on the 13 in the corner. Good, perfect stop shot there. Basically play a stop shot on the 9. I think I ended up, maybe I had a little bit of an angle on this one. But I know right, no, it looks like a stop shot. I know right where I want to be on the 13. Snip draw back just slightly. That way you're on this side of the 13 and the cue ball wants to track this way towards the 11. So good smooth follow stroke here to roll up on the 11 ball. Good play. Cue ball gets good on the 11. I know I'd like to come back out towards the center of the table here for the 12, but it plays from most anywhere. So you can just focus on making this 11 ball. Punching out a little bit would be nice, but you don't want to get greedy and risk missing the 11. was a little disappointed with that because I wanted to get more out of the 11. But you're good. Like, you're fine, man. It's going to be okay. You can still make this ball. And shape is pretty natural here, coming off the 12. You thin this one and come back 1 or 2 rails towards the 8. Bobbled that one a little bit. I think I was trying to get a lot more out of it to make sure I got back down below the 4. And I call the 8, but I don't want to jump the gun here. Make sure that you're staying consistent. Just pop that one in. That puts us up 2-0. And a good clearance there. It's a good format. So the race with 7s in this tournament was 4-4. And then it's a shortened race format, so it's pretty brutal when you're playing lower skill levels as a 7. So I think it was a 4-3 race against a 6, a 4-2 race against a 5, which is scary. Fives can play, right? So you know, you got to watch out for them, and only having to win 2 games puts the pressure on, which I like. I think playing in handicap tournaments like that, it should feel that way. My shoulder was in the way, but I did snap in the 8-ball. So I let him know. That's a quick way to get on the hill. So before you know it, I'm up 3-0. Good second ball break here. Let up on this one a little bit. Either didn't strike too low or didn't get full enough into the second ball. So I end up scratching, which is rough. It would have been really nice to maintain that momentum. Good table clearance in the second game and then the 8-ball break. But give up a scratch. So ball in hand in the kitchen in APA rules. And this tournament as well, it's not Masters format, so you're not allowed to use a jump cue. You can use your full-size cue for jumping, which I have practiced that, and I am able to jump with my break cue. So if the situation arises, I can theoretically jump. So these situations can be tough, sort of analysis paralysis, right? There's just so many options. So he, very sensibly takes the straightforward shot into the side. Kind of gunning through the pattern play here, though. Complicates the 13. I think probably the intention was to shape this ball on the side next. On this one down the rail, maybe coming for the 15 next. Put a good stroke on that one. Got a bad roll. Came off the backside of the 8-ball and still has a line on the 15, it looks like, so this cut can go. Nope, he tried it in the other corner. Surprised me. Tough one. Okay. Well, my 6 is a problem. I've got, luckily, ended up with a cut on the 3. So from here, what I'm looking at is, does the 4 go past the 9? And it's hard to tell from the video. I was lining it up like it does. And basically, I'm looking at, are there any balls over here that would allow me to get a breakout on the 6? So that was me judging where on the rail I want to end up after the 3. So just take your open shot, start working through the pattern to get out of this kind of tight position here by the 11. Nice and smooth cut over to the other long rail. Good speed. Options on the 1 ball. The 4-7 combination could work. Kind of dicey. It's hard to tell if the 2 ball goes. I don't remember what I do here, so it's going to be fun to see where this goes. Yeah, I'm trying to judge. Maybe I'm trying to look at spreading out the pack to give myself an option for a breakout. And then where on the 13 that I would hit if I came from underneath. Looks like that was what I was lining up just there. Coming off the 5. Okay, I think I remember what happens here. So I might be looking at playing the 1, leaving myself. No, I'm playing the 5 right now. I'm using the 5. The 5 cuts. I want to take the cue ball off the 5 into the 6-13 to open that up. This is a good aggressive play because the 5 goes and it takes me right towards, nice, under the 6. Spread those out pretty well. Got a good line on the 1 and the side to take you to the 4. The 6-2 looked pretty good. Combo on that looked pretty good. The 7's open now. So I start to build pace, picking up momentum, feeling good about how that spread out, wanting to immediately clear this problem. Ideally leaving the 6 where it is so it's playable after. But you missed that combo, man. Come on. That's silly. I remember feeling really silly about that. That one just lined up so well, and it would have been awesome to run this table after making that good breakout shot. So he picks off the 11 on the side. Wanted to get down for the 15. Maybe overrolled that slightly, but you're better off getting past the 8 and leaving yourself a more aggressive cut on the 15 and getting behind the 8. The tough cut, sort of a blind pocket, puts me down below these balls, and I didn't really have anything playable. I mean, theoretically, the 7 could go in the corner past the 15, but you're very close to the object ball. You don't want to risk a bad hit on that. You're not shooting straight into it, so I think the chances of a bad hit are really low. But it can still be touchy when you're that close to the object ball. Also hard to aim when you're that close. So I think the consideration here was to try to play safe and leave things clustered, like put one of mine on top of his, leave him on top of the 13, something like that. See where we go with this one. Yeah, I think the intention there was to leave the 6 on the 9 and just put him on top of the 13, spread out way too much. I think I used too much speed trying to hold the cue ball. Now he's got an open shot on the 9. The 13 could take him right towards the 15. Works. He can still get around the 7 here. Pretty natural shape for the 15. Yeah, even coming into the balls like that, it's still sending you up table. Got to make a decision about where the 8 ball goes. You go high inside to play the 8 ball down here, or do you come around the 8? Looks like he, hard to tell. Maybe was going to go around and let up on it a little bit. So now you're left with a difficult back cut on the 8, which sends the cue ball over to this rail. And depending on how much you hold it, it could theoretically curve in. But he's calling it here. So coming thin off the 8 on that side. Kind of curved it a little bit. All right, we're in pretty good shape here. 2 goes in the side. And remember, we're on the hill, so this would feel really good. Close this match out. We don't have a juicy open shot. The 2 goes. The 2 is fine in the side, but those are easy to misjudge. And sometimes what'll squirrel into the brain a little bit, this sort of demon of if you miss, right? Like if I miss the 2, am I going to leave my opponent below the 8 ball? Am I going to sell out a shot? So you got to make sure you keep that stuff under control. Good play on the 2. I think the way I played that was to go with confidence on the 2 ball, trust the angle that I know, and also trusting that the shape is going to come after making that ball, that I'm almost guaranteed to end up with an open shot. Maybe got a little unlucky here, coming so close into the 7 ball, but I also got lucky in the sense that I have a shot on the 7 that sends me towards the others. So well played there, good speed. I think the idea was if you basically roll that in, you're going to get a shot on the 6 or the 1. The 4 is going to be there to back you up. You're almost guaranteed shape on all 3. 6 is very playable, sends you back around table, stay under the 1 or come back up for the 4. I think my idea here was high inside on the 4, get past the 6, and the 1 plays in the side. Did well to play past the 6, but overshot that one a little bit. So tough. I really wanted to get under that 1 ball and use the 1 to come back over for the 6. You just kind of shoot the 1 in the side here, and the cue ball bounces back out. Now I'm faced with a back cut on the 6, a pretty thin back cut on the 6, but I know that if I hit this well, the cue ball's going to come back across table and set up for the 1. Oh, miscut it just slightly, and then the pool gods decide you lose this game because you missed that ball. So, kind of made me laugh. A little silly. I got out of shape, you know. I played bad shape off the 4. Oh, but then the pool gods immediately say, here's a chance again. So a scratch on the break. Really goes in swings, guys. I know you all know that feeling. It can work out really well some days, and then other days you just can't shoot. Can't make a ball. What I try to tell myself on days like that is, you know, okay, I'm having a bad match. I'm having a bad game, maybe even a bad day. But it doesn't mean you're just a bad player, right? It doesn't undermine all the things that you can do, all the work that you've done. And that one bad match doesn't become you. You are not that match. It's okay to have bad games. Everybody has bad games. Pros, you know, do silly stuff all the time under pressure. And this is a hard game. It's a complicated game. There's a lot that can go wrong. It fascinates me, the swing, right? That, you know, just seemingly randomly, you'll be doing really well. Your mind will be in a really good place. Be able to just float through and like effortlessly play. And then other days, everything feels extra hard. So good to open up here, use that ball in hand in the kitchen, clear out. You know, you could certainly have played the 9 ball here, but why don't you take shape on this one? It sends you towards the 9, and then the 9 sends you back towards the rest of the rack. I do have to think about how to open the 15 and the 10. Although after you make the 14, the 10 would play from over here. This is just about picking a plan and committing to it. The idea will be come off the 9 and get shape on the 13. Nice. Play into the 8. Yeah, using the 8 as a stopper is smart. And that looks like our video froze. That's right. This was the point in the match where my camera stopped recording. So I'll just talk you through what I remember here. I had to go back and look at it, but this is where the camera stopped, unfortunately, was when I was on the hill. What I remember working out was that I got really good shape on this 13, so I used that to open up the 15 and the 10. I had shape on the 14 after that, and I was able to come back around for the 10 ball, which was over here. The 15 got pushed up table a little bit off the 5 enough to make it. So I made the 10 ball over here. I was able to get shape on the 12. And I made that in this corner. And then the 15, as I said, was above the 5. So I was able to make that and then make the 8 in this same corner. So this was a run out. This was a cleared table at the end off of the scratch on the break. So again, really maintaining that momentum, good kind of strong, confident, aggressive play, and felt really good for the first match of the day to go this way. So I won this one, win on round 1, advancing over to round 2. And this is, as I said, the APA Grand Prix Tournament with over 100 players in the field. So super cool to participate in a tournament of that size. And I've got some more matches lined up for you to show you how the rest of the day went. So stay tuned. I'm really glad you guys are here. Remember to do the YouTube stuff to help out, and we'll see you again in the next one.